let me open up to the audience. Any questions for the panel? I've got a few more. I have lots more, but wave your hand wildly because I can't really see you out there. Okay, I'm not seeing any. Oh, I'm sorry. Right, gentleman right there. Oh, someone's coming to club you with a, no, give you a microphone.
You mentioned earlier that a megabyte is not a megabyte depending on the use. You want to charge different, but that's typically not how other services are charged. For example, telephone or TV, or even for that matter, the internet bandwidth. It's not charged like, it doesn't matter what you've connected at two different ends. So I was kind of curious if you would like to expand on why the megabyte is not a megabyte comment.
Yeah, it comes down to a couple things, and you bring up some good examples, but if you look at just the examples that you pointed out, is that there's differences in how revenues are generated based on how value is generated in each of those things. And I think Cindy's point, which is important to understand, is that access has value. So the ability to get on a network, utilize a network, has great value. And that isn't necessarily reflected in how many megabytes that you use once you access it. And that's why there's differentiation in there. And even when we look at different segments of of new devices and new products and services coming on, there are some differences. Now, I'll also say that if you go out and ask your average blogger, they think everything should be free. They also forget that there are multi-billion-dollar networks that Tom's company and mine have to build and maintain, right? Or this access, or however we locate, will never occur. So that's why we have to start to get more creative, because as the cost of charging to generate revenue, there's those as those costs come down, but the cost of delivering networks doesn't necessarily go down. We become a little more efficient with technology. That's where we have to try to find that balance in a business model.
So it's more like a hotel room. It's like the same room, but if you happen when the big convention's in town, the price is 2x what it is when no one's around.
Well, probably a bad example would be, like your airline seats, right?
Airline seats,
right?
Another
Not everybody on that airline is paying the same amount for those seats.
I mean, I guess the point is there's a lot of different models where the same thing is charged at different rates, and what I hear you saying is that could be a feature that we're going to see coming forward. Any other questions from the audience? Yeah, Kamar. Oops.
My question has to do with roaming in a location-aware world. As you move from operator to operator, there are pretty good mechanisms roaming from a voice standpoint. Not very good as for data as yet, but how do you see the quality of service from a location-aware devices as you roam into different network and user is going to expect same experience?
Why don't you take that?
Okay. Sure. So that's one of the things that a connected device platform can do, is layer on top of the home network as well as all the roaming networks, so that the hardware company, whether it's Nokia or another hardware company, tries to become a service provider, they have the tools to be able to troubleshoot network issues when they're in the US or anywhere around the world. So that intelligence is there today.
I just want to add. So you see, the location determination is the issue, right? So in a particular network, you have some capabilities or certain ways of doing location determination. But there are alternative. Most of the phones now today have, or most of the smartphones, I would say, have ways of determining the location alternative ways. So I think those are going to be even more. It's not only just through the GPS, but also through area where you are, or through the other sensors that the phone has, which will be connected to, that will determine or give you some more precise value point about where you are. And that's how you will see in future you will be able to locate even though you are roaming. And of course, all the carriers are accepting certain common standards right now. There are certain application vendors who are creating platform where not only a value-added service like location is going to be offered, but also other value-added services are being aggregated. So those levels of things are going on. It's not only the data path, but also going to the chain, a higher chain of.
We've got one more question, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. George Percival from the Open Geospatial Consortium. The discussion about sensors and the phone as a hub for those sensors and the like, and then making that sensor data available out to the network. So the value of that sensor data that's on my personal area network to somebody else somewhere at a different location. We've had discussions with NOGC about the value of sharing that information and why would that uptake occur. And 2 examples, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys think the value and why it would take off. One is kind of it's as valuable as tweets, right? So, it's going to explode, maybe. And the other is it's a long tail. There's a lot of sensors out there, and people are going to find sensors they've never knew about before, and therefore, you'll connect up people that were never connected before, and the long tail of sensors will provide value. I'm wondering if, in particular, the comment about the phone as a hub for sensors and making that available, have you thought about the value of that sensor data out to people?
I will take this one. Some time ago, about a couple of years ago, there was one interesting information or interesting business case that really fascinated me, which is how about the phones can create ad hoc network in the schoolyard during a lunch break. Just think about it. I'm not going to use AT&T or T-Mobile's network, but I should be able to talk, right? So how does it happen? Means each of these phones that kids are carrying will become a repeater and hence carry certain information together, right? Now, is it going to be a voice? No, it may be just a simple SMS. Now, the sensor that we are talking about is of the same category. Means things that could be passed around. Some would be important for you, others is not. Today, AT&T has a way, or T-Mobile has a way, or other carriers have a way of checking on the network quality just by activating some elements of the phone, where I, as a user, don't know. And they are generating those stats, and they are doing the analysis and determining what's the status of that network in that sector, and taking actions according to that. They're using it for network optimization. They could use it for traffic optimization and things like that. So whether we like it or not, things are being used. Just think about 5 years from now. There will be more analytics that will be available, and hence more data gathering that will be happening. And that's whether we want it or not, and some of them will be used to offer some other additional services. Example, Verizon, 2 weeks ago, they opened up network API on location and messaging. Why? Because they're offering something that the app developers don't have access to. They're offering analytics data, right? And the way to address the end consumer. So it's just an example. And tomorrow, a medical appliance group could say, okay, how am I going to get these information to the phone? So if you download an application where you could really monitor your, your health condition. And this is going to grow, and this is going to build upon one from the other. And of course, connecting to the Facebook, connecting to Twitter, those are all today what we see. But look at the explosive growth of those areas.
I'm going to wrap it up. We're a little late. I would beg forgiveness because Conwar made us late, which wasn't the first time he's made me late. Two points that just strike me. One is, even in the markets we consider mature, we're very underpenetrated. And there's huge markets beyond that. I mean, it just really strikes me the huge potential as we move into these markets. Second thing that really strikes me is to get there, there's a really complex interaction between the technology providers, the integration into the hardware providers, the networks, and the billing, and we didn't even talk about consumer psychology that has to support all this. And it just strikes me that the amount of collaboration will directly affect the rate of adoption of here. And so maybe that's a challenge for folks in this room. Thanks to all the panelists for their contributions, and I'll turn it back over to Mark. Thanks very much.